Well, here we are again. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Red Curtain Talk. Woo-hoo-hoo. Don't you hear the applause? Yeah. so, so again, I'm Eric Funches, the director of Trouble in Mind by Alice Childress, and we have with us now my dear friend Jay, or Juno, or you go by so many names.
Jay is fine.
Jay is fine.
Jay is fine.
And Jay, you've been a part of the Alexa Little Theater for quite a while.
About 4 years now.
Yeah,
Coming up.
You got a little history. You're a veteran now. You're a veteran. So for all those BLT lovers, you know Jay, you love Jay, so we're glad to have Jay as a part of this production. Talk to me a little bit about how you came to hear about the play and what struck you about being a part of it.
Well, first and foremost, throughout my theatrical career, I've really gravitated towards pieces like this, things like August Wilson, things like Alice Childress, things that have political undertones that really do get the message out there. I mean, like if I had my way, every show would be theater of cruelty. You know what I mean? And like really getting the message out there. But not everything can be. And sometimes having something where they can come enjoy themselves and still get the message that they need is very important. And so when I heard that we were doing an Alice Childress piece, I was obsessed. I knew I at least wanted to wardrobe. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. Look, any of you who haven't heard of Alice Childress, because she's not as popular in the South as she is up north, please go check her out. Do your homework. She is phenomenal, and her other pieces are phenomenal as well. So your character is Eddie. Eddie is the assistant, but he's a little bit more than that. Talk to us about Eddie.
I think for me, what Eddie really represents here is the like the business, like the industry, where Al definitely represents the Hollywood industry and that side. Eddie is the representative of the theater. I think he sort of symbolizes the theater itself. And so when Al is kind of running around giving his own ideas, I've kind of found places to throw in like facial expressions and things that are kind of like, that's not how we do that, we do this totally different. But I also feel like, as we have discussed, that Eddie is his own, in a way, a form of representation for another community that's underrepresented in that time, specifically the gay community. And so when Al, it almost feels like when he is neglecting Eddie's ideas, there's that undertone to it as well. It's not just that Al thinks he knows what's best, it's that maybe Eddie just doesn't think at all, So the way he doesn't listen to what women like his wife and Willetta, and so, stuff like that.
And I love that there's not just the issue, one of the others talked about the layers. There's not just the issue of racism. You have sexism that's going on here. You have ageism that is seen. So there are multiple things that are going on at the same time that you get to see when you come to see this play. So when we look at Eddie and what he brings to the play, I'm going to jump to the question I would ask at the end with others. I want to ask you it now. What do you want the audience to take away from Eddie being a part of this show?
I think what I would like for someone to take away is maybe, like what I was just talking about, is turn your ears on to certain people. Like, just because you have the time, and experience isn't everything. And experience in a business certainly isn't everything as well. Life experience is everything too. And I think that Eddie, being the representative of the theater and the representative of the gay community, that people can take away that there's always someone in the room that knows what you know, and sometimes maybe a little bit more. And that oftentimes they're the quiet ones. They're the ones that don't comment, they observe. And so.
And I think there's wisdom in that. And one of the things I'll tell people all the time, and I tell my son, is don't discount what someone has to say because of who they are. Even a drunkard can give you a little piece of wisdom that will take you through that day a lot better than you would have had you not listened to what they said. So, sometimes we can judge people, and I think that's the other thing that is really an essence of this. We can judge people based on what we think, based on color, skin, based on ethnicity, based on who we see them as being. and then miss out on the real jewel that they are and what they can add to our own life. So I appreciate you saying that. What is one of your characters' relationships? What is another character besides Al that you feel your character has relationship with in the sense of being on the same wavelength?
I feel that Eddie, at times in the show, really connects with Bill.
Yeah.
I feel like Eddie and Bill have a lot of moments together where, like in one scene, there's tensions are getting really high, and Bill's immediate response is to go and sit by Eddie and to kind of make business over there, so as to not look either complicit or not complicit. You know, kind of stay out of the way.
There you go. Yeah. And Eddie tries to do that. I mean, he wants to be a part, but again, he's representative of the theater, so he can only go so far with that. Right. So I agree with that. If you could rewrite one moment, no, right? For your character and make it kind of what you wanted it to be versus what it is, what would that one moment be?
The ending. 100% Eddie's final bit, and not to give anything like super away, but I would like, if I had my way, Eddie's attitude and his sympathies towards the cast would be a lot more present. I would, instead of him going back to kind of being that authority figure and snapping back to reality, he would have been more inspired, and it would be clear to the audience that he's not going to be the same person anymore.
And you know, I've talked to you all as we've been doing this play about the fact that regardless of, the number of lines anyone has, every single person is so important. Why do you think Alice Childress, and you may repeat something before, but I think it's necessary that I ask is, why do you think Alice Childress put an Eddie in this play?
Well, you know, you said I might repeat something. I'm totally going to, but I think he is that character that is the observer. You know what I mean? And as a stage manager especially, that is something I have done, not as a character, but as a role. And so that job is completely auditory and completely responsive. Like you listen and you respond and you do not just what you're told, but what you know as a professional needs to be done, despite what someone else may think. And sometimes, like Al, that is the director. And I do think that that's really why she wrote Eddie, to kind of not only fit in, because you can't really tell in the content of the script that Eddie is queer or gay. So I don't know that she wrote that intentionally, but she definitely wrote him as the representative of the theater and as the person who maybe is kind of the moral backbone of the whole industry for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, like Al.
What other similarities do you see between yourself and Eddie?
I think there's a bit where he talks about being a jack of all trades, and that's certainly something that I definitely go with, from whether it's wardrobing, costumes or on stage, directing. I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and so I find that very much as where I relate to Eddie. Cool. Again, being the character that is written with minimal lines and kind of the observant, like I said, I love the very tense moment that I referred to earlier when they come back from lunch and everybody's kind of calm, but Willetta comes in late and you can just tell already from the way Michelle's playing it, you can just tell that she has had a whole conversation with herself already. And she's coming in ready to go. And then watching her build as he shuts her down at every turn, it's something that people are really going to just love.
That's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. Well, thank you so much, Jay. It's been a joy.
Yes.
It's been a joy. So thank you all so much for joining us in Red Curtain Talk, and we'll see you in the next one.